welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I'm doing a video all about the meals that we ate as a family for the week. So there'll be 7 meals in total. My daughter doesn't tend to have the same meals as us because she's an extremely picky eater. But yeah, these are the meals that the rest of us eat, excluding more than likely Ava's. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you're new.
So our first meal is spaghetti bolognese. I've got 2 pans on the hob, one full of boiling water and the other one I've just sprayed some firelight in there to get nice and warm, and then to add the mince. The mince that we use is the 5% one. I much prefer it. I'm not a massive fan of mince meat, but I much prefer the lower fat to the higher one. By the way, this cylinder drainer thing is amazing. I find it difficult to lift heavy pans, especially when they're filled with hot water. So basically you just put this inside the pan with the hot water, and then when it's boiling you actually put the pasta inside it, and then when you're done you just lift it up with the handles and pour it into your other pan to mix with the sauce. So I much prefer it, and it's really easy to use. So I'm just giving the mincemeat a good mix here. I do apologise if it looks really strange me mixing. I have been having problems with my wrist and my fingers and my arms, so this is the only way where it basically doesn't hurt. So now that the mincemeat is pretty much cooked, I'm going to add in some frozen onion. Like I said before, I find it difficult to chop and prepare food, so I either use pre-cut vegetables or something like this where it's already cut up, frozen, and it's just easier for us. So I'm going to add about 1 to 2 handfuls in there as well and give it a good mix. The pan is all boiling now with the water and ready for the pasta to go in, so I just open up the little cylinder thing and pop some spaghetti in there. I don't like shoving the whole thing of spaghetti in, so what I do is get about a handful and a half, and I break it in half and then drop it in there. So now I'm going to add a carton of passata in with the mincemeat and onions, and then I'm going to add in some bits of herbs and whatnot. So I add in some garlic, some basil. Garlic and basil are probably my favourite, and some tomato puree, and also things like thyme and whatnot just in there, and give it a good mix. So now that everything is cooked, I'm going to turn the hob off, and then I'm just going to pick up this little cylinder thing, tip it inside out, and then tip it all in to the pan full of the sauce. Because I'm not a massive fan of mincemeat, when I was younger we used to always have it where it was a pasta with the sauce and the mincemeat on top. But because I didn't like it as a child, my mum always mixed it together for us, and then I didn't seem to hate it as much just because it was all mixed together. So that's what I tend to do for everybody now, is just mix all the spaghetti, mix all the pasta together, and then serve it all as one. So we're also having ours with the garlic bread, which I just popped in the oven before I basically put everything on the hob because it takes a little bit longer. But yeah, this is our first meal, which is spaghetti bolognese. So our next meal is burgers. I'm also putting some chicken nuggets on there as well for my daughter, who wouldn't eat a burger. I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory really. Just pop the burgers in the oven. I've got 4 quarter-pounder burgers on there, and then also 2 chicken burgers. I much prefer chicken. Like I said, I'm not really a massive fan of mincemeat, and it's the same for burgers, so I will be having a chicken one. And then, like I said, some chicken nuggets are going on there for Ava as well. And like I said, it's just self-explanatory. I'm going to pop them in the oven for the time it says on the box. Whilst they're in the oven, also buttered some burger buns as well, and voila, they're done. Just take them out, give them a good shake because they're a bit greasy, and pop them on the burgers, and then put on any sauce that basically everybody's wanting. So our next meal is a tagliatelle that we all love. It's probably like my favourite meal. It's basically bacon lardons that are smoked, mixed with mushrooms and then white sauce. So here the bacon lardons all chopped up, and also got some hot water boiling in the pan as well. Just going to pop those in, give it a good stir. When they're all cooked, and then we're going to pop in the mushrooms as well. So whilst the bacon and the mushrooms are cooking away in the pan, I am going to add the tagliatelle into the pan of boiling water. Just the same with spaghetti, I just open it up and pour it in. I tend to use half of this pack, which is like 8 of the bowlfuls in there, and then I'm going to add the white sauce into the pan with the mushrooms and the bacon. I use white lasagna sauce from Aldi just because we're not a fan of the carbonara sauce for some strange reason, so we use just the normal lasagna sauce and then add in some basil in there as well. So now it's all cooked and ready. I'm just going to lift this up and tip it into the pan with the sauce, give it a good mix, and then serve it. So the next meal is a bit of a lazy one, but I always used to eat it on the Slimming World, so I just love it. Basically, I've got these chicken sausages and pop them on a tray and put them into the oven, and then basically I just mix it with pasta, but instead of like me making the pasta and sauce, it's just pasta and sauce. I used to use it with the actual brand pasta and sauce. I think it was the Bachelor ones, but I'm using the Aldi ones here. And yeah, it's the easiest meal ever to do. So like I said, I'm just putting the sausages into the oven to cook. So when there's about 10 minutes left on the sausages, it's time for me to pop in the pasta. This pasta is pretty easy. You just add in some hot water and some milk. I've also added in a tablespoon of butter as well because we just love butter, and then pop it in the microwave for about 7 minutes and just keep an eye on it and keep mixing it and put it in for longer if needed, because obviously I'm using 2 packs and not 1 this time. So when the sausages are done, they have been chopped into either a third or a quarter. Usually these ones are a third. The pasta is done, so I'm giving it a good mix, and then I'm popping in the chopped cooked sausages into the pasta and giving it a good mix. And that's it pretty much. It's easy and simple to do, and it tastes really nice as well. So our next meal is breaded chicken with mashed potato, veg and gravy, and I'm just going to start off by putting the breaded chicken breasts into the oven to cook. So like I've said many times before that I struggle preparing like vegetables and stuff like that. Same goes for mashed potatoes and obviously the heavy pots and pans and whatnot. So I usually use pre-made things, and because I'm not a massive fan of the frozen mash, we get the fresh mash. And all you have to do is kind of like just pierce some holes into it and then stick it in the microwave for a couple of minutes. We use 2 packs of that. So that usually takes about 5 minutes to do. And with the veg as well, just to avoid using a pan, I've also put that in the microwave because you can use it to boil, or it's actually a steam bag as well. So yeah, my veg and my mashed potato, even though it sounds really lazy, but I make them in the microwave just so I don't struggle. So now that the chicken is been made and the mash and the vegetables all warmed up, basically I'm just going to serve it, and serve it with some gravy as well. So our next meal is a chicken korma and rice. Andrew does not like this. He does not like rice at all. So he's just having a pizza with some like veggies and stuff on the side. But yeah, again, to avoid chopping, I am using diced chicken that I'm going to pop into a hot pan. And then in the other pan is some water. Now, I've recently, probably in the last few months, started doing my rice slightly different. Sometimes I use the microwavable rice, but this time I use actual rice. Instead of filling the whole pan full of water, I fill in about an inch or two full of water, then put the rice in, let it boil, add in the rice, put the lid on and turn well, it's meant to be on simmer, but because this is electric, it keeps it hot for a long time, so I just turn it off and let it kind of like cook in its own steam, just so then it avoids me draining the rice each time. I can just spoon it in like onto the plates when I'm done. So yeah, I find this way so much easier. So like I said, I've just popped the chicken in the pan to cook, and then once that's cooked, I'm just going to add the korma sauce straight in. Again, a bit lazy, but it's just easy from a jar. What I also do as well is add a bit of milk into the jar and give it a shake to get the remaining like sauce inside there out. We like the sauce to be quite runny, so adding more milk is the best way to do it basically, and it makes it more milky too. So now it's all ready to serve, and like I said, the rice doesn't need draining whatsoever. You just lift it out the pan, so much easier. We do usually have some left over of this, so I tend to get a couple of kind of like lunchbox sealable things and stick them in the freezer so we can have them as leftovers on another night. So our next meal is curly worms. It's not basically called this. My mum found the recipe when I was very little, and we've just always called it curly worms because I don't know, that's what we've always called it. That's what my granddad called it, so we've always called it that. Basically, it's just the smoked bacon lardons that you pop into a hot pan. Also in the other pan is some boiling water, which I'm going to put the kind of, is it fusilli pasta? They're like twirly pasta. That's basically like our worm pot. And I'm going to give the bacon lardons a good mix. So when the bacon lardons are all cooked, I'm going to add some herbs in there. Again, so like basil, thyme, oregano, everything like that, basically all in a pan. And then I'm going to add 2 tins of chopped tomato and then turn the heat down so it can simmer. When it starts to bubble as well, I add in 2 handfuls of mozzarella cheese, just so it's like all melted inside the sauce and it just looks amazing. So I'm going to wait for that to finish cooking and wait for the pasta to finish cooking, and when it's all finished cooking, I'm going to just pour the pasta into the sauce. So our last and final meal is a beef stew. I've put the slow cooker on high just so it can heat up, and in a frying pan I'm going to partially cook the beef. Basically, I usually use this with mince, but this time we didn't want to have mince, so we had diced up beef. The only reason I'm doing it this way is with the mincemeat, I usually chuck it straight in, but because it's a little bit thicker, because it's in strips, I'd rather it be like cooked a little bit on a pan before in the slow cooker, just to kind of like ease my mind a bit. But yeah, I'm going to partially cook this and then pop it into the slow cooker. So I'm just adding in some like really small baby potatoes, just means I don't have to chop them up, and some pre-cut and prepared vegetables go in there as well. And then to top it all off, I put in some beef gravy in there. I use the gravy granules into the stock pot just so it's nice and thick. I more than likely use like, I think it's 3.5, so it's 1.5 litres that I use, and put it in there just so it just covers all the vegetables and meat. So I'm going to pour that into there, then pour the meat on top and then cook it. I tend to cook mine on high for about 4 to 6 hours, or you can do it on low for around about 8 hours, but we usually cook it on high. So after a few hours, it then looks like this and is ready to serve, and so yummy. What I tend to do is, because it's very, very hot, is I put it in the bowls and then leave it for about 5 minutes just so it can cool down before eating.
So that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. But I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and I will see you soon. Bye!